That's where we were on probation.
Hey man, you know your shirt is out, right?
Well, I think.
Somebody told me this morning. Okay, I'm just making sure.
I think we're on.
No. Good guy. Yes, sir.
I'm not really sure it's working well. All right, we're getting started. I'm not certain that we're doing what we need to be doing. I'm not certain that we're doing what we need to be doing across the whole spectrum there, because the thing started a little weird, but Miss Kim's checking all that out for us, so we need to have our sign-in sheets, both of them. We need to be cognizant of the fact that today is Friday. Today is Friday. What does that mean?
We're off tomorrow.
Oh, I am. Yeah, I'm off tomorrow. Well, you know, I'm never off. I work 7 days a week.
It's Saturday Eve.
It is Saturday Eve, and it's Donut Day. So if you're the one who won the donut, you're going to get a donut. We're looking at everything. I got this morning a stack of what? Incident reports. If your name is on one of those incident reports, I don't want you to flip out or anything like that. It's just an incident. It's not a write-up or anything like that. It's just something saying something happened. Okay? That's all it is. Not a big deal. But if you've got one of those, and your name is on one of those, you will come in and sit in the office. It's not a big deal. We're just going to talk about it. But, you know, if you got one of those also, you are not getting a donut. So we're going to talk about this morning disappointment. Disappointment. So what is disappointment?
Being sad.
Being sad, something like that.
Somebody disappointed you. Disappointment is a type of depression.
Yeah. All of those things. Can you do me another thing? My book is in my bag in there, and I didn't play. I would give you one of these donuts. Oh no! Oh no! And you didn't sign the sheet, and you refused to sign the sheet. So how do you warrant a donut? You're not doing what you're supposed to do. So no. All right. Here's the deal. Look, y'all see that I did not come to group with my book.
Yeah.
You see that? Everybody cognizant of that? Everybody notice that?
So you don't get a donut?
I don't get a donut. Praise God for that. I'm so glad. But Miss Kim bringing me my book, and I do thank you, Miss Kim, and I am really apologetic. We had things going on. My boss was telling me things and doing things, and I had to remind her, you know, we go live in about 3 minutes. And she said, okay, I understand. And this is only going to take a second. And 5 minutes later, you know, I had to remind her, okay. But she's my boss, so there's nothing I could do. So we are looking at emotional health today. So our goal for today is going to be what? Say it again. Disappointment. I want us a little bit more. We have to expand it a little bit more. I don't want us to get disappointed over the group.
Learn about all
We want
the
to.
side effects that disappointment comes with and how we can how can we fix it.
That sounds good. Yeah, the side effects of disappointment, where disappointment comes from. What the heck is disappointment? You know, it's the first cousin of anger. This is why we're doing. Disappointment is an emotion, by the way. You know, so if it's an emotion, can you deal with it? Yeah, we deal with our own emotions. So disappointment being emotion. Some of the times when you get a list, and I'm going to get that a list for everybody on the next time we do this. That'll be a month from now. Most of you guys will be out of here, but we're going to get a list of all of the things that are considered emotion. You know, and some of the things on that list are surprising, like disappointment. You know, people don't usually think of that as an emotion, but it is. Depression, anxiety. We don't think of those as emotions, but they are. You know, so we're gonna get all of that. So disappointment is the first cousin of anger, and can often lead to anger. Right? All emotions can easily lead to anger. So what is this person here?
Disappointed.
She looks disappointed, and I think it is a girl this time. There's no Adam's apple or anything like that. I never know the gender of these folks while I'm drawing them. It sometimes becomes apparent, but sometimes it's not. So what's going on with this person? Like he said, she's disappointed.
Got turned down for a job.
Yeah, she got rejected for a low thing a lot of different ways. One of them, and before that, let's say that our goal is to learn about, the group goal is to learn more about disappointment, what it is, all of that stuff. But she got turned down for something because they told her not now. Maybe she was trying to buy a car and the bank said, not now. When we went and bought my car, my wife's truck, our travel trailer, all of that stuff, we had to use her credit score and all of that stuff. The guy when we bought the trailer said her credit score was so high that she could buy anything she wanted to with just her signature because of where her credit score was. On the flip side of that, my credit score is so low, I can't buy stuff even with 2 or 3 different cosigners.
But even if you're married, don't y'all like share the same credit?
No.
It doesn't work like that.
You have your own credit score. And here's the reason hers is so high, she pays all the bills. They're all in her name. So she pays all the bills, and they look at every bit of that to get on your credit score. I don't pay anything. I don't even pay when we go out to eat. She picks up a check. I don't do any of that. You know, if she deals with the money, I don't do that because as an addict, I don't do well with money.
You know. Sugar mom. You got a sugar mom.
I got that. Yeah. Yeah. So she takes care of all that. She's got all this, and mine is so low because I don't pay anything. You know, she takes care of that. So anyway, maybe her score is down, and even if you know you got a low score, your score is like 180. You know, and you go over there to buy a car or something, and they turn you down. Are you still disappointed?
Yes.
Even though you know you have a very small chance of getting that loan, you can still feel disappointment, right?
Yes.
And that's what happened to her. And here's just flat out no. Somebody tells you no. You ask a lady to go to the movies with you, and she says no. I've never had a lady tell me that in exactly that way. Usually when they tell me that, they're giggling. Some of them are laughing out loud when go to the movies with you know, stuff like that. Or look, I want to get a car loan. Absolutely not. No. Have you ever gone to your boss and say, look, you know, I hate to ask, but I really need a raise? Well, yeah. I had somebody send me a little something. I was looking at the job that they send, and you know, it's like a whole bunch more money than I'm making. And I said, oh, you know, you know, I want to go to my boss and say, look, I need a bump to that. I know what you're going to say. I've already got the no. Yeah, you know. So this is disappointing too. You know, see me later. What does that mean? If somebody
like not right now,
not right now,
but
yeah,
maybe later,
maybe.
Like,
And
go get your things together, go get your life together, they come back.
yeah, maybe so. Get your life together, come back and see me again. Maybe not right. And usually when somebody tells me, well, maybe later, that means not right now, which means we ain't doing that. I've applied for a whole bunch of jobs, and people send me little letters after a while that said they're going in a different direction. What does that mean?
Not yours.
Hey, we ain't going in your direction, brother. We're going on somebody else's direction. We're going somewhere else. We're not going to go with you. So see me later about that. We don't. Just see me later. So the other one here, I've heard this before. You're too old. Have you ever heard that? How about you're too young? See, those are always inferred because it's against the law, right? That's ageism. We can't do that. And we certainly can't do that in the state of Texas. Ageism is against the law. To not hire you because you have an advanced number behind your name. That's against the law. Or to not hire you because you're very young. Have you ever seen anybody, hey, how we doing? Go that way. Yeah, we don't want you at this part. Go that way. Anyway. That we can't do that, but a lot of people will do that. I've had some people come in that were counselors and had their degrees and had all of that stuff, and they still like 12 years old. And so the team there would be a little hesitant. Yeah, a little hesitant. And I've also I hired a guy one time that was like 80. And in a fast pace out of the prison, really fast paced situation where you have to have, man, right out there now they have like 100 clients apiece. And so at that time we were running about 40 clients. And he had been working in Louisiana, and he told me, I'm used to having 6 to 8 clients. Okay. A lot of people think 6 to 8 is a whole lot. The state says you shouldn't have more than 20, but here's this elderly gentleman that we dropped 40 on. You think he did well? No, he couldn't keep up at all. He started off behind and stayed that way until he left. But because it's against the law to either not hire somebody or fire somebody because of age, we hired him. We pretty much had to hire him. He was qualified. He had the license, and he had all of the experience and all of that. But how about you're not qualified?
You don't have the certificates, or you don't have the experience.
You don't have the license. I went before I got my license. This was years and years and years ago, decades ago. I decided I wanted to do that, as a person-centered counselor already and a pastor and all of that stuff. So I figured, well, I can do that. So they were looking for somebody at one of these facilities around here. And I went and I said, look, I'd like to do that. And they said, okay, give us your LCDC number. So what on earth is that? They said, you're not qualified to work for it. You have to have that license. You're not qualified. So I had to go get the license. So I've gone to other places and I put all of my stuff in there, and they see all of the stuff and they say, okay, we're not going to hire you. But we appreciate you coming by, but we're not going to hire you. I say, okay, why not? Well, you're overqualified. Now we're looking for somebody with a bachelor's degree. You have a doctorate degree, so you're overqualified. Why won't they hire somebody that's overqualified?
Cause too much change. It could cause problems, because they could be like, hey, we should change this when they.
Well, maybe so. Maybe they want to come in and take over. Yeah, can't afford to pay them. And that's the real gist of the issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say what he said too, but also like at first they might think like, no, I'll work for this pay rate. That's cool. I'll pay for this rate. But once they start working, that mindset is gonna be like, man, I am overqualified. I need more money. It's going to start causing problems.
One of the
start asking for more money. And
that's true. They're going to know that they need more.
the reason why I know about this, I had a home where Southwest Fair, they Dallas, they left me. They couldn't. That's why they couldn't afford it.
Right.
Back in the 70s, they said he was overqualified. They couldn't afford it.
Right.
They would have to really get rid of some people in order to pay them.
Right.
Eventually, it's going to start messing with
all about the pay. But the real big thing is that people are always looking for qualified people. And so if you hire somebody that's overqualified, somebody else might pick them up 2-3 weeks or a month later and come in there and say, we need you in this position, which is much higher. I have been headhunted. Y'all know what that is. Where I was working at Center Corps, and these people got with me and said, hey, we'd like you to be here. Well, I wasn't the director at Center Corps. I was the lead guy there at Center Corps, but I wasn't a director. These guys said, we want to make you a director here over this program. And the money went from here to there. I said, okay, let's go do that. You know, so that can happen. So when we don't want to have somebody that's overqualified because it might probably, not might not, but probably will not stay. But won't stay. Yeah, you know. So all of these things, but every one of them lead to the same place. And what is that? No. And that leads us to disappointment. All right. So we're looking at our emotional health this week. So we're going to go over disappointment. We're going to find out what that's about. If you have your book, we always start on page 21 of the book. And it says down here that we are at this point, if we get down there, if we allow ourselves to work through those steps and we get down here to this end, now how many of us know that it's going to take a little bit more than 5 days? See, this is 5 days that we're looking at, but it takes a little bit more than 5 days. And this does not actually represent days. This is 5 different places where you can be in your mental, your emotional health, right? So it's not 5 days. So, but it looks like it's a week at a time. You know, it looks like it's 5 days. So on this last one, we finally get to the place where we have meaning and understanding. You have a rational understanding of your emotional health. You are fully participating in maintenance, and you accept the work that you are doing as necessary for ongoing positive emotional health. Why am I so worried or so concerned about my emotional health?
Because, I mean, you want to be able to control it. You don't want to be like, because you don't want to be turned down for a job, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, the hell with y'all, blah, 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 you know.
Yeah, and we don't want to. The big deal is if I let my emotions go to the place where my emotions oftentimes will go by themselves, then I can relapse. Yeah, it can lead me to relapse. Yeah, relapse. Emotions are the vehicle to get us to a victim stance. And a victim stance is a place where, you know, everything, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, it's just the world is against me and all of that kind of stuff. And if this is how it is, I might as well use it.
Yeah.
And okay, if this is what recovery's like, then I was better off when I was using. And then we go right back to using because our emotions have gotten out of control. So how do you deal with your emotion? How do you cope with them?
Well, take a few deep breaths, kind of meditate a little bit.
Walk.
Yeah, all of that stuff. So today we're looking at disappointment. So we're going to talk a little bit about this morning about how to deal with disappointment, right? Anybody here ever been disappointed?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Never have been. Man, we're awesome. That is awesome. I was disappointed yesterday. How's that feel when you're disappointed?
It don't feel good.
It does not feel good. It hurts your heart. It makes you, hurt your feelings. You know, when somebody says no right off the bat, that makes you feel like they don't like you. It makes you feel like, you're being trampled on. Hurts your feelings, right? And you get disappointed because of that. And sometimes it can lead to a bad place. So being disappointment is this. Look, it would be totally impossible to get through life without being disappointed about something. Something. We're going to get disappointed. Get up this morning and you go in. This morning I had oatmeal for breakfast. And what do they tell you about oatmeal? They got a big old thing on the box, on the oatmeal thing, that big old heart. This is part of a heart-healthy meal. Right. If you're diabetic and you eat oatmeal, what happens?
Blood sugar spikes.
Sugars go through the roof. Mine are still at about 100. What are they? From the oatmeal, 195. They're supposed to be like 105, so it's about 90 points up higher than it ought to be from oatmeal. It might be doing good for my heart, but it ain't no good for the diabetes stuff, okay? So it went on up there, but that was a little bit disappointing, right? The oatmeal was good. I make a good thing of oatmeal, but it was, when that sugar started going up, that was disappointing. So so I had that disappointment this morning. I had a little bit of disappointment yesterday. I know, there's going to be a thing because I've already got it lined out and everything, and I know I'm going to be disappointed on that. So, we have to live with the fact that there are things that's going to disappoint, right? You guys know that I'm going on vacation in October. When I sit down, my wife doesn't help me plan out that. So I had to plan it myself. So I had us going up in the mountains, Alabama and Mississippi and all of those mountains up there, Georgia, all of that. And then she tells me, we can't go that way. Because when we go up in the mountains, it makes my legs hurt. Okay. All right, well, we can't go up in the mountains. Was that a disappointment?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been 3 weeks. So she said, I don't want to be part of that. You just go anywhere you want to go. And then when I show her where I go, we can't go there. We should have just said something, But now it's all going. We're all going to be down on the Gulf Coast and stuff, which is still going to be a really nice trip. But it was a little bit disappointing. And see, like when somebody comes and gets a guy at a group and just said, "No, hey, you're not going to get this guy at a group," or anything. It's a little bit disappointing, isn't it? Yeah, because we know he needed this. Because he's just, he's in a bad shape. But it's impossible to get through life without something. Disappointment occurs when we have an expectation or desire about what we want. Right? Something to turn out, and it doesn't turn out the way we wanted it to. Right? How many folks you think might have been disappointed that they didn't win the lottery?
Yeah.
Millions of those people. Man, that thing was up to $1.7 billion. There's all kinds of crazy people out there buying lottery tickets. I think I might win. Yeah. So there's some things that we do. So how do you cope with the disappointment? When things don't go my way, what do I usually do?
I usually just depending on what it is, like I'm usually just like, oh well, you know what, tomorrow's a new day, or I'll be like, you know what, maybe it just wasn't the best, or hey, maybe God didn't want it to work out that way because He's got something planned better.
Look, I'm sorry. So sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead. I'm done.
I'm so sorry. Instantly, I'm so sorry. Instantly, I'm upset right away. If somebody comes and tries to talk to me right away after that, the reaction is going to be, like, get away from me.
Maybe not the best.
Not the best thing. Like, I'm
Right.
disappointed.
Right. So one person says they're gonna do some deep breathing exercises. They're gonna think about it. They're gonna say maybe this wasn't for me. Tomorrow's another day. That's a good way to respond to that. Somebody else said that, hey, I'm going to get upset about it. I'm going to get upset about it, and other people go, no, I'm upset. That's a way bad way to deal with it. But that, we go somewhere in the middle, usually. When I'm upset about something, when I get disappointed, I usually do the first thing on this list, which is sulking. What is sulking?
Feeling sorry for yourself?
Feeling sorry for myself, getting a victim stance. I'm walking around, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just don't. I'll go sit in my office and hide, play some play some solitaire on the computer, you know, and all of that stuff. Don't want to go talk to anybody. Keep everything to myself. So there are a number. These now what we're talking about today is dealing with disappointment in an assertive way. Remember, we talked about there's three different ways that we deal with life. It's either aggressiveness, passivity, or assertiveness. We don't want to be aggressive because that's not how you want to be. And somebody's going to step up to you if you're aggressive. We don't want to be passive because if you're passive, somebody's going to step on you, right? And so we want to be assertive. Assertive means it's going to work out for me, and it's also going to work out for you. It's going to be a win-win situation, right? That's how that's going to be. So these include sulking. And I tell you what, I have a certificate in sulking. I'm probably the best in that in the world. I can do that. I can do that. Give people the silent treatment. You ever done that? Okay, they're not going to let me do what I want to. I ain't talking to them again. I'm just not going to talk to them. I'm not going to have anything to do with them. I'm going to leave them alone. They never was all that good a person anyway, and they never were my friend any. So I'm not going to do it because they didn't let me do what I wanted to do. That's pretty selfish, isn't it? Let me share this with you. I know y'all can't tell it, and it's going to surprise the heck out of you. But I can be pretty selfish sometimes. I want that because I want that, and how dare you get in my way of getting that, right? Yeah, I'm like that, man. And so when I don't get my way, and that's why I said I had a little disappointment yesterday. I got something I didn't get my way. Yeah, this is what I didn't get what I wanted, and that's not good. So I get to that place, and I did a little sulking. Did a little sulking yesterday afternoon. Did a little sulking early this morning. I've gotten out of it now because I don't stay there long, but that's where I go when I need to deal with disappointment. And that's a very, very non-assertive way to deal with disappointment. So the next one is anger at the thing or the person you see as the cause of that disappointment. Remember, we talked about anger. We talked about disappointment being first cousin of anger. Yes, sir?
I have a question. So, once you get disappointed, and like you say, you play Jim Rummy or something.
Yeah.
So, what if, you go from A to B, then once you finish A, then you resolve back to disappointment. So, what would you do then?
Oh, yeah. And that's what we're talking about. What if the question was a really, 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 really good question. Once you go do what you're supposed to do to get over the disappointment, and then you go back and you're disappointed again, or the disappointment is still there, what do? These are things, the sulking thing, that's not a good way to deal with it. We're going to get into the better ways to deal with it, the assertive ways to deal with it. But this is more, sulking can be aggressive or it can be passive. If you're sulking and you're getting in people's faces about sulking, about what happened, you're getting in people's face and all of that stuff and talk, and you're just telling them how to cow eat the corn and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's aggressive. But if you just don't talk to them, you get back and no matter what, it doesn't matter anymore, all of that kind of stuff, that's passive. Neither one of those are good places to be. So now I'm angry. I'm so glad that fly went and got you because he was bugging me. So this can include when I get angry, I can include being angry at myself. Y'all ever been angry at yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get angry at myself. But that is anger. So again, we have to choose to do that. And I've had to learn that I don't need to be angry at myself. I'm a little frustrated because I was on this morning. I was doing the study on computers again, and that stuff is not coming easily to me. I'm struggling on some of those areas, And so, it's a struggle to me. So as it being sometimes I get angry at myself because I can't easily get that. I look at that and I think, I should eat. This is the simplest stupid thing in the world. I should easily get that. So because earlier in the week I was looking at the calendar. How do you work, the Google calendar? That thing is complicated. But, for me, it's complicated. So I'm struggling with that. And then the other thing, this morning, I was looking at how to deal with just your Gmail. You think about just Gmail. You're just sending somebody a message and they're sending you one back. But that thing is there's so many thousands of things you can do with that. And, people like Miss Casey or Miss Kim, boy, and I'm struggling with that. Yes,
I think being angry it's a mental block.
mental block.
Yeah, because sometimes when I get angry and then I find a solution to make it better for myself, I find myself still angry.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I wanted to do and I didn't do it.
Well, that's a good point. He said that sometimes when he gets angry, then when he finds a solution, he gets the solution still angry because that's somewhere he want to go. Were you here for the anger class yesterday?
Was it?
No, I just got it.
Yeah, I knew that.
You talked about the cord.
Yeah.
It's the root.
But you'll be here long enough to go through our anger thing again. So we can get angry at ourselves about that. That's also that's still not a good assertive way to deal with disappointment. We can get into a place actually of depression. Nothing is happening my way. Nothing's going my way. Nothing's going to happen for me the right way. We start talking to ourselves about this, especially if this kind of stuff that we have on the board happens more than once. What if you go for a job 7 times and you don't get it? I had a guy that was in our church, and he probably went 7 times or 8 times or 20 times. Every time I saw him, he was trying to get a job. He had a particular issue that would keep him from getting a job. He got one job where he was driving a forklift. That's a pretty good job. He was making pretty good money and all of that kind of stuff, but they fired him because he was very slow. He was the older guy, and the younger guy, they could whip that thing around and put that stuff where it needed to be put. They were going 10 times faster than he was. And he was all freaked out because they fired him. Wouldn't you? Yes, sir.
I just want to touch base on what you just said about a job. Like, I had a detail shop on the southwest side of Houston, right? And so that was like one of my main things. So I went to Quick Quack Car Wash 15 times in one day. And got hired the second day. And then 2 weeks later, I bought a brand new car. 3 weeks later, it made me assistant manager. It's like, that's what I like to do. I love detailing cars, And it was some days I would get angry because my boss would say that's not the right way. In my mind, it is the right way. Because I taught myself how to do my own thing, Yeah. But then I had to think about, she's been here 7 years after she started. So I had to have an open mind on how this Quick Quack Car Wash runs.
Sure, I've gone to the Quick Quack Car Wash
a
couple of times. And that's a good point. The deal is that I have certain ways that I like to do things. Anytime you go to a different facility, they do things that their way. And so what you have to do when you go in there is do it their way. They're paying you, you're not paying them. I had a guy that was in our church one time who was an auto body guy, and he quit his job. And I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, they take too much of the money." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, they're paying me this amount, but then they're making that amount." I said, "Dude, that's how business works, you dipstick." But he was disappointed to the place where he got into a place of depression. When we get into that place, we'll do something that's not conducive to anything. We'll get into a bad place, so we don't want to do that. We get into a victim stance and start doing stuff. Here's the other thing. Sometimes will walk around wanting revenge on either the thing or the person that caused us not to get our way. We want that person to have an issue. We'll go around, we'll try to find something. Do you need to talk to her, David? Do you need to have to? Got to. I would wish you would. Yeah, going to the restroom. Just, maybe take a nap. Uh, so the deal is that when you want revenge on somebody, see, when I go get those donuts, because David walked out of it, he ain't gonna get no donut. That's what. What is that?
Revenge.
That's a revenge. I'm gonna get, and if everybody gonna be eating sugary good donut, and he ain't gonna get one. So there you go. But we really do. I'm being facetious and all of that. And y'all know David's already done through it. He's done everything. He's leaving on Monday, so he's got everything done. So it's not a real big deal for him not to be in the group because he's heard it all before. But here's the thing: when something happens, or somebody does something, the guy doesn't hire us, or the boss doesn't promote us. When I was in the military, it was my turn to be promoted. I had time and grade, time and service. I went and did all the things I was supposed to do, and then I knew, okay, today's the day. So we're all in formation, and I'm waiting for the commander to call me up, stick some other stuff on my lapel. I'm ready. I've already got my chest stuck out, everything. I'm ready for this, and I never got called. 3 or 4 other people got called, but I didn't get called. What? It was my turn. It was my day. This is it. I'd already told people. So it didn't happen. And man, on the way home, I was terribly disappointed. I was upset. I was mad at him. I wanted revenge on him. I was going to figure out, I'm hoping, that he does something wrong so I can go tell the major. And, all of that kind of stuff. So on the way home, I got to going a little bit faster than I should be going. And the MP stopped me. Yeah, you go through. So anyway, I got a ticket that I had to pay, and it was like $30. And back then, $30 was a huge amount of money, especially if you were in the military, because they paid you like a nickel. So it's just another disappointment. So we want some revenge sometime. I wanted some revenge on those MPs. I was thinking, man, I bet they do that, all that. Sometimes we get to a place, and this is the non-assertive thing of just giving up. Have you gone to get that job you wanted? You've gone to get that loan for that car. You've gone to get that this, that, and the other, and you don't get it, and you just decide, well, I'll just ride a bicycle. I'm not going to try again. Or I go live at my mama's house. My mama loves me. She'll feed me. Then you get to mama's house, and she said, I want you here, boy. So, another disappointment. So at some point, sometimes it's a really non-assertive way. One of the most non-assertive ways, this is way passive, get to a place where we just say, okay, we give up. But the deal is you can't give up. It's just like he said, I went back to that place to get that job 14 times in one day. Okay. Myself, I'd have called the police on you, but, you have to be persistent, right? You can't give up. Even the Bible will tell you, in the Bible, it tells us to keep going to God. Keep going to God. If your prayer isn't answered, keep talking to God about it. He'll give you an answer one way or another. You're gonna know what it is after a while. So, and the other thing, and this is prevalent with just about everybody, self-criticism. I criticize myself a lot. It's not okay with me that I'm not all that good with the computer. That's why I'm every morning, not every morning, but when I don't go work out, I'm working on the computer. And so I'm learning about the computer. And when I have time in here, I do the same thing. If I've got a minute on break when I'm at lunch or something, I'm learning about the computer. And so, I'm working on getting that deficit to become a positive, but I'm disappointed every time I go in there and I look at that, and if I can't do it, it's frustrating to me, and so that's disappointing. And I tell y'all all the time about the Allison free training, and that's really good training because it's free. It's ALISON.com, and it's out of England, and it's free training. I do have, it's one thing about it that causes me to be a little bit disappointed. Have you ever had anybody that knows exactly what they're doing train you on something? Yeah, I'm a trained trainer. I was trained to train. One of the things that you do as a trainer is make sure that you're going slow enough that people can catch on to it. These guys, most of them, are not trained trainers. They're just people who know that particular thing about Google or something. The one that I was listening to, I'm listening to one about I told you all about the calendar. That guy, oh my God, that guy's going, all right, this is what I do here. You do this and you do that and you do that. You do this and it happens like this. You get that? No, you dipstick. No, I have to go through it 9 times to get that, right? So you need to slow down if you're ever training. And the guy that I have now, the new guy that I'm doing the Gmail on, he's very fast too. He's not as fast as the other guy, but he goes fairly quickly too. And he's from Canada. Do Canadians have an accent?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So you got to listen real close to this. A boot? Yeah. Let's look at a boot. What? What am I? What are you worried about my footwear for? Okay. Yeah. So they talk a little bit different than we do. So we need to take some time sometime to think about the last time we were disappointed and see if you can remember how you reacted to that disappointment, and just think about that. How did I react to that? What did I do when I was so disappointed? A lot of times, the last time I was disappointed, what did I do? I didn't strike out at anybody or anything. Look, it was when I was disappointed, it was kind of like a delayed reaction. I'm standing there, and the individual that caused me to be, I caused myself to be disappointed, but the individual that did what he did to let me cause myself to get disappointed, while he was saying what he was saying, I'm going, okay, yeah, that sounds great. That's a really good idea. I think that's magnificent. I think, boy, that's good. And then I walked off. I had a few other things I had to do. And then I'm headed home from work. And it just hit me what he said. And then the disappointment came. And I was severely disappointed. And then a little angry. And then got into my let's sulk this thing out. So I started sulking. I ain't talking to nobody. They can suck the slime right out from betwixt my toes. Yeah. I didn't go tell him that, but that's what I was feeling, because I was terribly, terribly, terribly disappointed. Is that productive? Is that good at all?
At the moment, so good.
It felt good maybe a little bit for right then. Maybe. But it's not productive at all. It's not productive at all. So, I can't move the paper. Now, there's also, there's different ways to look at it. We talked about passivity and then aggressiveness, and then we're going to talk about assertiveness. So, when we're passive, if you respond passively to disappointment, you're likely to just give up what you're trying to achieve or become overly critical about why you didn't achieve it. Is that going to help you at all? No, if I give up, guess what happens? I don't get what I wanted, And the thing is, look, if I don't get what I want at this level, is there a possibility for me getting what I want at some other level? No. Yeah, there is. Or is there a possibility if I can't get what I want in this company, he had a detailing shop, if I can't get what I want in this company, can I go to another company and perhaps get what I want?
Yep. I mean, yeah, you can, but if you keep the same, keep that same, like, oh, I didn't do it here.
When you go to do those things, if you're going to move from this place of disappointment, go somewhere else where you can do it again, you got to change the attitude as you go to the other place. Because if you carry that same, and he's right, you carry that same attitude over there, you're going to do the same thing, right? One of the things we talk about all the time is when I go, that's called a geographical escape. When I do a geographical escape, what's the same thing? What do I carry with me when I go over there? Me. When I go, when I get in some other place, there I am. No, I can't escape me. I might escape the situation momentarily. I might escape the area. I might escape those other people, but I'm still an addict and I'm still here. And so when I show up over there, if I still have a bad attitude, if I still, am in that way depressed place or that disappointed place, I'm still that. So if I decide not to do anything, then I'm going to become very self-critical of myself, and I'll get to the place where I believe I can't ever do anything. All right? And that's not true. Because there's some people in here that's very, very, very intelligent. We can do whatever it is we set our minds to. Right? We can do that. So I don't want to do it that way. You may feel sorry for yourself and sulk. We talked about sulking. If anybody in here don't know how to do it, come talk to me. I can give you a tutorial on it. You'll know how to sulk before you leave my office. I might even show you how to do it. It's according to how I'm feeling. If others have disappointed you, you give up on them. And that's something I have done. Go talk to my boss and say, hey, I would like to be promoted and I would like to go to this place. They say, well, okay, but you're not qualified to go to that place. And we don't really have that place. We'd have to create that place if we were going to put you in that place. So that would be a whole lot of work and a whole lot of money and a whole lot of time. So, that's probably not going to happen. So, I go back to my office or I go back to my house or I go out on the lake or I go in my woods and sit around in there and sulk a little while and just say, well, that guy can kiss my grits. I don't need to fool with that person. I'm just going to give up on him. He's not part of my dream. He's not part of what I'm trying to do. And so, okay, I'm going to give up on him. I don't need that job. I don't need that house. I don't need that car. That bank, I don't need that bank. Those people, I'm going to take my money out that bank. I got $27 in that bank. I'm taking it out. Right? They don't need my $27. So, we feel like we're going to hurt the bank or hurt somebody else. So you might just not, might become angry at that person. You may feel sorry for yourself and some others, you give up on them. All of these reactions can worsen your self-esteem and lead to depression. When you start giving up on people, guess who you start giving up on in the long run? Yourself. Yeah. I'm going to give up on him. I'm going to give up on them. I'm going to give up on, and you give up on yourself. And that's a really bad place to be, right? You have you can get to it when you give it up on yourself. You wind up depressed. I have a lot of anxiety going on. A lot of mess is going on. So these are the ways we don't want to do it. The other way that we don't want to do it is aggressiveness. We saw some aggressiveness yesterday. Not tolerated. Not tolerated. No, we can't be aggressive. We can't be aggressive. Now, is that a true statement? No, you can be aggressive. But if you get aggressive, you're going to get taken care of. And you're not going to be let to stay aggressive. Because one of the things that I know about myself, I'm not going to be afraid where I work. Right? I'm not going to be afraid where I play. I'm not going to be afraid where I live. So I'm just not afraid. You know, I got God in my corner, and you know, I got a little training in my background. I'm not going to be afraid. You know, but I don't need anybody else afraid either. So you know, that's some of that aggressive stuff that we don't want to do. Aggression can be dangerous, and so you know, you do what you have to do to deal with aggression. Yes, sir.
You said aggression.
Yeah.
So do you ever come to like just because of your background that you feel like you hurt somebody but not continue at the same time?
Well, I do know that there are people who are pretty good size. Uh, big old fella right here, big old fella back there, and big old fella and a pretty good sized fella right here. And sometimes they can inadvertently hurt somebody. You know, when you get to a place where you are raging and you're screaming and you're yelling and you're running and you're flopping around and you're just walking very fast and stuff like that, you can inadvertently hurt someone. You can. I am not going to inadvertently hurt it. I'm going to revert to my training, and I'm going to hurt you on purpose. It's not going to be, oh, I'm sorry, I accidentally punched you in your throat. You know, I'm not going to do, I don't think I'm going to do anything like that. The very last thing that's on my agenda is hurting anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to, you know, I wouldn't want to do that. There's no way I won't, I don't care who you are. I don't want to hurt you. I would not want to do that. I don't want to get hurt either. You know, so when aggressive things happen, you have to end them. So here's the deal. If you respond aggressively to disappointment, you are likely to become angry about the situation or person that led to the disappointment. So if I'm going to be aggressive about it, I got to get angry. I'm going to get angry about that. And when we get angry, what happens to us?
We lose our IQ points.
We go up to 40 points off of our IQ and we'll do stupid stuff. Now, I said that in an anger group one day, and one of the fellows said, "Hi, you can't call me stupid." Well, I could, but that's not what I did. Brilliant people, when they get angry and their IQ drops by 40 points, do stupid stuff. When people do stupid stuff, does that mean they're stupid? No. No, it doesn't mean they're stupid. It means they're angry, they're out of control, they're whatever they are, but they're definitely not stupid. I've got some guys in our anger thing come through our anger class that, look, got an IQ of 180. They're pretty smart people, you know, doctors, medical doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs and stuff like that, but they still get to that place. And when they got to that place of anger and it dropped their IQ, they did some pretty goofy stuff. Most of those people are in the class because of family violence, you know. So you may become increasingly resentful. When you're resentful toward a person, what does that cause?
Animosity.
You try, yeah, you're okay with them getting hurt. You try to look for bad things in there because you resent them. You don't like them. And if you can find something that's going to cause them some misery, you'll do it. So that's just being resentful toward a situation or a person, and you start wanting to exact some revenge. Want to get some revenge. You know, is revenge good?
No.
No. We don't need to be doing that. Look, I do know that when somebody does something that hurts my feelings or somebody does something that disappoints me, my human side of me, my man thing, I want to get back at that person, right? But I'm a Christian and I'm a pastor and I read the Word of God and it says, the Lord God says, vengeance is mine. I'm not allowed to take revenge. That belongs to God. It don't belong to me. So I can't do that. So here's the deal. You know, this is how we respond to disappointment in an assertive way. Now, this is what we want to be. We all want to be assertive. We don't want to be aggressive because aggressive people are scary. I don't want anybody scared of me. What happens to people when people are scared of them?
They don't like you.
They don't like you, and a lot of times when somebody gets shot and killed and stuff like that, you see on the news where they killed Charlie Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think they did that?
You're scared of it.
Scared of him. Scared of his political views, scared of his outspokenness, scared of him, so they killed him. They're scared of him. If you 90%, so I don't want somebody scared of me. If they're scared of me, they're going to hide behind a tree and shoot me. Yeah, because they're cowards. So they're going to shoot me. So I don't want anybody scared of me. If I'm passive, then they're going to be all over me all the time. I'm not going to be a doorstep, right? A doormat. I don't want to be that. So I want to be assertive. That's where everybody needs to be, because what assertiveness means is it's going to be good for me and it's going to be good for thee, right? Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. If you respond assertively, you may still feel disappointment when things haven't gone the way you wanted them to. That's normal. We've all of us in here more than likely have had something that didn't go the way we wanted it to. Right? Didn't happen exactly how we wanted it to go. So that it's normal for us to feel a little disappointed when that happened, but you cannot, and if you're assertive, you will not blame yourself or other people. It's just a thing that happens. You're not going to be able to go through life without some type of disappointment. So you're not going to get stuck in those negative emotions. I'm not going to be disappointed at the end of the day. I'm not going to be angry at anybody. I'm going to let it go. And when I let it go, what am I going to do? Let it go. I'm going to let it go. I've had so many people tell me, well, I'm going to let it go. I'm just going to you hear me? Let it go. And then go out and jump on the person that we were talking about. You didn't let it go. Well, he said, well, you didn't let it go, you dipstick. Anyway, that's normal. You're not going to blame yourself. You're not going to get stuck in negative emotions. You're going to take responsibility for your part in the disappointment. If I'm disappointed about something, do I have a part to play in that?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm not qualified, what do I need to do? Get qualified. I need to go and get myself qualified. How about if I'm overqualified? What do I need to do? Go to find a job where I'm qualified for it. Go to find a job that fits my credentials, right? So I don't want to be looking for a job that I'm overqualified. I have done that. I retired years ago, and I needed something to do. So I called the school thing. They were looking for bus drivers. Just have something to do. I figured, hey, because they drove the bus, picked the kids up, and then they'd take the kids home, and they'd wash the buses and do stuff like that to kill some time. And, they didn't make a lot of money or anything, but it was something to do. They wouldn't hire me. They wouldn't hire me for two reasons. One, I was way overqualified, way super overqualified. You ain't going to work. I said, I'm just trying to do it just for, They said, no, we don't care what you're trying to do it for, but if you're trying to make a few bucks or something, somebody's going to hire you out from under us just like that. So, okay. And then they said, we checked your background. Guess what they found out? Well, you don't have to tell people you're an addict if you're ashamed of it. You don't have to do that. But, and I've had people tell me, they can't find DW. That's not true. They can go find, they can find your DWIs if you got DWI. And the lady told me, you've had DWI. I said, honey, ma'am, that was 52 years. That don't matter. If there's one in your life back there 50 years ago, that you won't drive a school bus. And she said, because we care for our children. I said, ma'am, it's so over for. She said, we don't care. And she's right. You could relapse while driving a school bus. I drove a school bus in Germany, and I will guarantee you, those 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old kids, they'll drive you to want to drink. That's for sure. So we don't have enough time to go through the rest of this. But so we're going to jump back on this when we get back from our break. Let's get back in here about 10:15, and we'll go on.
Hey, Doc.
Yeah.
I just waited. We took a break. So I guess I'm gonna take it. So I don't know if I might be late this time. I didn't want to interrupt the class and get up in the middle of nowhere, so I just waited. So this.
Well, I appreciate that, but you could have done that.
I'm taking this right now. It'll be at the time.
Check it all out. What are you going to know if somebody's going to be here and that's it?
I don't think he's going to come on Friday. There are a lot of around here.
I'm going to get that so that we should
I know I would like to have it down.
make sure that's
I escaped today.
So, I asked, Miss Susan this morning,
There's a paper now.
is it purple?
I think so.
It's in there. It's awful.
Can I see it, Commissioner?
It's in a bag with your name on it. I see it this morning
Yeah, let me see it.
getting Darnell's stuff out. I said, ooh, Miss
Yeah, I had one. Okay.
Hello.
I was looking for somebody else. Oh, maybe sorry.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Even though we're here voluntarily, we don't finish all of our assignments before our 30 days.
I'll tell you to take your class.
Well, the goal is for you to finish all. And, to be honest, there's no reason
We did not be able
for
to.
you to not be able to, good.
It's just some of these assignments, the way they word this stuff in this
Yeah.
book, I get
They should
confused.
reverse.
Yeah, I'm like confused. Like I'm not putting you out there.
No,
You know,
Like yesterday, because I mean, like for example, hold on. Let me-
I know some of it is worded strange.
Like for example, it says all or nothing thinking. See things completely good or bad, perfect, awful, events or wonderful, disastrous. Feel like a genius or an idiot. Nothing is just okay or average. How do I see this in my life? Like I don't know exactly how I would see that in my life. But like I'm not exactly sure that home. This one right here is mainly like I started writing down like, yeah, I admit I have a drinking problem. And I mean I would never miss 12 days of work. But uh, a lot of my problem is I would never start problems when I was drinking. People always start problems with me. And then when I would lash out a little bit harsher than what I should have lashed out because I am drinking, but then again, I'd be the same way if I was sober. Like this. I mean, I never started problems like with my spouse and I. She was the one that always started the problem, but I would lash out in a more harsh way because like I like I would be like,
With a lot of, she would start something with them.
yeah, exactly. Like I could be completely sober and things would be fine, but the second I would start drinking, she would want to cause problems, and I'm just like, why do you do this every time? Like every time, why do you do this? Like okay, let me just kind of read what I wrote down. Here we go. Like on Psalm 1, I was just like, because I knew I had a drinking problem. I always admitted to it. But somebody was like, hey, you're drinking too much, I'd be like, hey, I already know this. You don't have to keep rubbing it in. But, like, people always use my alcohol against me just because I was drinking. People would cause problems when I was drinking. Drinking as far as my behavior, like, as far as like lashing out, yes, it was a behavior problem, but it wasn't because of my drinking. Like I can give you a prime example. My mom, the day that one time she kicked me out, and okay, I got released from work early because we didn't have we really had no. And so yeah, after I got off, I went to the liquor store, bought me a couple of drinks, came home, everything was good. Well, my mom was just, oh well, why are you here so early? And I'm like, there's no purpose because he had nothing but to do. She was just like, no, you can't, so you can drink. And I'm like, no.
I'm drinking because
Yeah.
come home.
Yeah, like I'm ready. I got to come home early. And she's like, no. Just get over it. I'm just like,
She would act like you knocked off. Yeah, you knocked off her. She would have a drink like you couldn't stay at work without.
And I'm just like, what the fuck I do? You know, or like for example, one time, the only time I was and there was like here, but she was on something, and I on that. I just keep her away from me, and I was just like, get out of my face. And then all of a sudden she jumps up and she's like, I hate you, I hate you so bad. And I'm just like, hey, and I'm like, sorry. It's sorry. I said, y'all are the ones that start the problem, but y'all struggle. So like, but you know, I just don't get it. Like, yeah, sometimes conversations.
All right.
I would lash out, but I should have. But I don't know.
All right, folks, we're back in group. We're looking at some the rest of the assertive things.
Like, make arguments with your spouse or partner. Don't say you share responsibility. No, I would take share responsibility. Whatever.
Take him and go into the kitchen. Finish your session. All right, we're gonna. It's normal to have some of those issues, some of those feelings. But here's what we do when we're assertive. We will take responsibility for our part in the disappointment and think through how you can move forward from here. That's what an assertive person does. Is it possible to go from aggressive or passive to assertive? Yeah, it is. It is. So if I'm aggressive, like when I first got the disappointment yesterday, I was a little bit assertive. And then I got to a place where I was a little bit passive. But eventually I got to the place where I was more assertive than anything else. I was thinking about what could I do to fix the situation? What can I do? So, if I'm not qualified, we've already talked about that. If I'm not qualified, we get qualified. You know, we do stuff like go to the free Allison thing. Yeah, it's free. It's free. There's no excuse. You know, we go in there, we get on the computer, and we learn. Sometimes, look, when you go through one of them and you didn't quite get it, what do?
Try again.
You go back through it again. It's free. You can go back and do it as many times as you would like to go back through it. So, we do that. So if I'm not qualified, I can do about it. What are you going to do if you're too young?
Just go find another place of employment. I mean,
Wait. You're going to get older.
Sue them.
Yeah.
Discrimination.
It's going to happen to everybody. And there are jobs out there that are just for people who have not yet reached that place of maturity. You know, that's actually what fast food jobs are for. You know, they're wanting now to raise the pay for fast food people, and I think that they ought to get, I think everybody ought to make plenty of money, but those jobs are not meant for a career. They're meant for young people to come to work. So right now, if you go to get a hamburger, my wife and I went to Whataburger the other day. She got a hamburger, and I got a hamburger and fries. It was closer to $40.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you don't go, what? What?
But see, this is what I would get. Okay, like for example, if let's just say your first job is Waterbury. Okay, you're trying to work your way up to maybe say go work for like Georgia Pacific or Royal Mark or something like that. Okay. Well, you work for Waterburger a couple of years, 20 to get to 20, 21, something like that. And I'm not saying you can't work there at 18 or whatever, but they're like, oh, well, you know what? You don't have enough job qualifications. Like you've never had a job, blah blah blah. You know, but you go get a job, you work there for a couple of years, you do your job, but then you go back to that job, like Georgia Pacific or Royal Mark, and then they're just like, oh, well, you know what? You don't have the experience that we're looking for. You like, but you have the work history background, but like where you were on time, you did your job, you did a great job, but they're all of a sudden like, oh well, you don't have the experience that we want.
Well, and sometimes you have to have a specific experience. Like if you go to be a mechanic working at McDonald's, it's not going to help you do that. You're not going to, just because you worked at McDonald's doesn't mean you're going to be a good mechanic. Okay?
I mean,
So you do have to have experience in that field. You know, I mean, when we're right now looking for a counselor, but if we have somebody comes up and says, "Hey, we want the counselor job," okay, how many years of counseling experience do you have, and what kind of license are behind your name? You know, you have to be qualified and have to have that. When you're too old, that's just something that you're going to have to work through because I get up every morning and take from the alarm clock warning and take the 8:15 into the city and do the things I do to get my pay. Some of these other people don't know what I was doing, but we have to do what we have to do anyway, so we can move forward from there. You may need to make some changes. How many people really like change?
Not really.
I like change.
It depends.
It
you know,
depends
on what it is.
Yeah, and I get into some truck because of that. I'm a change agent. I can guarantee you this: I get a job when I go into that place. If I have any authority in that place, it ain't gonna be the same. Because I'm going to go, you know, like I said, I'm a perfectionist. I get to looking and I find things that are not right, and those things, I like change. You know, because if it ain't right, let's change it. If it is right, let's see if we can't make it better. And my dad used to say, if it ain't broke, let's break it.
But see,
Let's make it better.
That's just weird. Like if something's not broke, why would you want to break it?
So you can make it back, build it back better. That's exactly what we did here when Mr. Farmer came here. This place was running. It was doing what it was supposed to do, but it wasn't doing it very effectively. It wasn't doing it very efficiently. So he broke everything here. Broke everything. And then rebuilt it, and now it's running much more efficiently, much more effectively, making 10 times as much money. And so, you know, if something you might think is perfect, but here's the deal. The big deal is the reason we don't break it, we don't like change. It's been working like that since 1922. Yeah. This is 2025, so we might need to change it.
But see, that in my opinion, okay, this is just my opinion. That's part of preventive maintenance. You know, like, okay, if it's working, okay, and you do that preventative maintenance on it, okay, to keep it working that exact same way. Right. But yet, yeah, you come up with a better idea to make it work or run better. You know, not saying break it, but when it does break from you do preventative maintenance, then fix it to make it better. But I wouldn't exactly say like.
Well, here let me share this with you before our time is gone. If you don't want to, if you want to stick with the old stuff and keep it running and stuff, is that your business? Yes, it's your business.
Yeah.
But if it can be done better, I'm going to do it better. You don't have to do it better. Do it how you want to do it. But if I go out, how many people take a airplane and go overseas? I have flown over to a couple of countries over there, Germany and England and places like that, thoroughly enjoy flying. And I will tell you this, in 1932, they had an airplane called the Pacific Clipper. And the Pacific Clipper would take you to England. It'd take about 5 days because it had to stop at a couple of islands to refuel and stuff like that. I can get on an airplane here in Houston, and tonight I can be in England. I'm glad it changed. I'm glad change is good. Yes, sir.
I was gonna say more like fine tuning.
Yeah, fine tuning it, getting it done. But sometimes we look, and all of this is about here. What we talk about here is I need to be willing to change. If I go by, the concept that you had there, why do anything different? Why break it if it ain't broke? Why change it? Why fool with it if it's not broke? When I go in there and I don't get the job, I go home and I sit down and I say, okay, this is me. If they don't like me, this is what you see is what you get. Okay, all right. What you see ain't what we want. If you really want that job, if you really want to be a doctor, if you really want to be a lawyer, if you really want to be an Indian chief, you may have to change who you are right now. You may have to go to college. You may have to do something in order to become that. So we need to be at a place where we're willing to change, not just for change's sake, just for changing for the better. Now, here's the deal. Is it okay to change just for change's sake?
No. I mean, not in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it would depend on the situation. I mean, like, I can understand, like, if you apply for a job or something and they're like, oh, hey, you're underqualified, but, go to this school or go get this certificate and then come back to us and then we'll hire you. I can understand. I would exactly call that change. I would say maybe adapting.
So what's one of the biggest things that we are as addicts? Go ahead. What did you have?
No, go ahead.
One of the biggest things that we do is we stand against change. We resist change. We don't want change. That's one of the reasons that I will go into a facility and change everything. Because the counselors need to know how to change. The RAs need to know what change is about. The clients certainly need to experience change. Because one of the things that we need to know is change is not bad. Change is good. Change will not kill me. So sometimes we may need to make some changes. You may need to learn something from the disappointment. I learned something from the disappointment I had yesterday. I learned a little something from the disappointment I already had this morning. I got up this morning, at 1 o'clock in the morning. Woke up at 1 o'clock, got up and began my studies at 1 o'clock in the morning. So that's not enough sleep. I went to sleep at 8 and then got up at 1. That's not enough. Why not? Because the disappointment and stuff was kind of gnawing at me, And, I'm awake and it's running through. Why did this happen? Why did that person allow that to happen? What's going on in that situation? So, I need to be willing. I need to be willing, first off, to learn something. A lot of the time, y'all don't get offended, a lot of the time, if I'm unwilling to change, that means I'm unwilling to learn something. Can't teach somebody something to somebody that won't change. You can't teach something to somebody who won't change. You can't teach something to somebody who is very resistant to change. Yes.
Real quick, my baby soul was telling me. She was like, most people, you don't like change your mind about change, and maybe you'll enjoy change for a change.
Oh, that's good. That is good. All right, so here's the deal. There may be, look, this is important because we want to learn something from the disappointment, but there may be nothing that you can do differently. You might be unable to do anything different. If I go to a place right now and I'm trying to get a job and they use ageism on me and, they think I'm 72 and they think I'm too old, what am I going to do about that?
So,
Well, you could sue them. Yeah, you could do all of that stuff, but you don't. I've had people do some stuff like none of those people say, I'm sorry, Dr. Garner. You're too old to work for us. They don't say it like that. We'll get back with you. And then send you a nice little letter 3 or 4 weeks later. I'm so sorry, Dr. Garner. We're so glad that you came over here. Your resume is so impressive, and we just loved your presentation. However, we're going in a different direction. The different direction is to a 32-year-old guy, that has the same credentials that I do and all of that kind of stuff. So they don't tell you that, but you know. That's what it is. So what am I going to do about it? There's nothing on earth you can do about it. I'm just old. Tomorrow I'm going to be a day older. A little bit later I'm going to be another day older. There's nothing you can do about it. So sometimes you can't make a change, right? There's some things you cannot change. Either way, if you are assertive, you will be graceful in accepting the situation and moving forward. If you go to your boss and you say, look, this is what I'd really like to do. And they say, no, we're not going to do it that way. You can get into your feelings, you can sulk, you can do all of that kind of stuff. And if you're passive, you're going to do that. You can walk out and say, well, if you don't want to do that, I'm gone, and you can pack your ditty bag and leave. Or you can say, okay, I'm going to accept this as what it is, and then, okay, they're not going to do that, so I'm going to do what we are doing and continue on in that thing. So you have those 3 things that we can do, but one of them is positive and assertive because you still have a job and you're still rendering aid to some people who need aid. You're still doing what you were called to do, but you may not be getting everything that you want. So, here's some unhealthy thoughts. These are associated with disappointment. As with every behavior that we have, there's a number of unhealthy thoughts that's associated with not dealing well with disappointment. These are stuff like, they should know I don't like it when they do that. Why should they know that?
They don't have to.
They don't have to. And even if I do, that don't matter. It doesn't matter, So it doesn't matter. So as we're looking around the crowd this morning, how many people followed all of the rules correctly, and how many people did everything correctly so that they should be eligible to get a donut? Who thinks they did that? Who thinks that they're eligible to get a donut? Why are you eligible to get a donut? Yeah.
I've been here every day.
You have.
I participate.
You did really well. You're very verbal. You've done a very good job. You're not eligible for a donut.
I'm not.
No. Why not?
I don't know.
Give me one good reason why you might not be eligible for a donut.
Was he late class?
Because he what?
Late class?
I don't know that he was ever late for class.
No, you say you one good reason why you can't be.
No, why went to him specific? No, you don't know? Yeah, he was sitting there with Miss Kim, and they talked for 10 minutes into the group. I was already talking, and you were still explaining things to Miss Kim. You don't remember that? That was because you were intense into that discussion.
We talked for like 2 minutes.
Oh, look at that. It was 2 minutes. You were talking 5 minutes or more before I came to group. And then when I said, it's group time, you were still talking. And y'all talked, and you showed her something on the paper, and as I'm speaking. So, yeah. So, when I say stuff like that, does the thing come to your mind? They should know I don't like it when they do that. When I catch poor behavior, people don't like it at all. And there's always a good excuse for poor behavior. Always a good excuse for bad behavior, right? I had something that I had to tell her, and we only disrupted the group for 2 or 3 minutes, but we still did that. As group was gathering, you should have said, it's time for group. There's a big old thing up here. It's time for group. So, like we said, Do they have to know what you don't like? Do you know everything that everybody else in the room doesn't like?
No.
You're not going to know that. How are you going to know it?
Ask.
Somebody either ask or they're going to come tell you. See, I'm an assertive individual and I'm going to tell you. I want it to be a win for you and a win for me. If you're paying attention in class, that's a win for me. How's it a win for you? You're learning a little something. Maybe you don't even agree with it, but you're getting that information so that you can check it out and make sure that it's either correct or incorrect, right? So you're getting that information. How about the world is terrible? I can't bear this. That's really unassertive, isn't it? Is the world terrible?
Yes.
In some places. Y'all, I told y'all about the group. I don't know if y'all remember the group, the Marmalade. Y'all ever heard of them? They're a group out of Scotland, and they're my second favorite group. They are fantastic, and one of their best songs is "Reflections of My Life." And one of the places in there, one of the things in their stanzas says that the world is a terrible place. It's a bad place to live, but I don't want to die. No, it's a bad place. It's a sad place. It's a terrible place to live, but I don't want to die right. Here's the thing. It's terrible in places. It's not terrible everywhere, right? So that's not a true statement because it's not terrible everywhere. So, how about this one? That person is bad. That a true statement?
Not always.
Most people are not intrinsically bad. You know, people are people, and sometimes people do what? Bad things. Sometimes people do bad things. And I'm going to tell y'all, if you guys would just let that fly land on your forehead. That's all he wants to do is land on your forehead. Y'all flicking him off. All he wants to do, and that's sad. Poor little fly. He's flying over. Said, "Man, what a pretty forehead! I just want to land on that forehead." Yeah. So this person is bad. Look, people can do bad things, and we need to know that person is bad thing. As an assertive person, what are you going to do if you know that person is capable of bad things?
Stay away from them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Avoid the troubled person.
Maybe correct them.
If you can correct them and not get yourself in a bad place. A lot of people who are doing something bad go even farther with their badness when you correct them. But being an assertive person, I'm going to let them know I know. I know you're capable of doing this. Don't do it around me. I know. You cuss like a sailor. I don't, and it offends me, and don't do it around me. I just don't like that. All that kind of stuff. So we can do those things because there are people, and all people are capable of doing something bad. That really nice person that you know is capable of doing something that's bad. How about, I can't accept that person for being like that.
Adapt and overcome. Change.
Adapt and overcome. Yeah, here's the deal. That person is like that because why? They chose to be like that. Yeah, but that person is like that because that person's like that. So, I can accept that person. God loves that person. I'm supposed to love that person too. I don't have to. I had a lady tell me the other day, I have to love you, but I don't have to like you. You'd think after a while I'd let that go. No, ain't never gonna let it go. Every time I see her, I'm gonna say, "You still like me? You don't like me?" Still, But that's part of one of those things. So I can't tolerate this. Oh, there's some stuff out there I can't tolerate. There's some things you can't tolerate.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tolerate having a hot poker stuck to the side of my head. You being you, I can tolerate that. Sometimes I'm not really thrilled about it. Sometimes I don't care. Other times I don't care for it at all. But I can tolerate it. I can take it. If I have to, I can do it. But if I can't, I can, like you said, I can move away from it. So this is assertive. This is how we're responding to disappointment in an assertive manner. These are some more helpful thoughts that we can use. These are assertive thoughts. They challenge any unhealthy thoughts you may have had. You think maybe you've had an unhealthy thought in your life? Oh, yeah. Probably have several unhealthy thoughts during the day. Bunches and bunches of them, probably. So you can also, here's one of the things, you can also use thought diaries. Now, down through the years, I've been doing this for a long time. How many clients do you think that I've seen or knew of that was keeping a thought diary? And that's just a spiral notebook or something that's writing down their negative thoughts. I have never seen anybody do it. We teach it all the time. I've tried to do it myself, but I've never seen anybody do it. If we really did it, the reason we do that is to shine a spotlight on exactly how I'm thinking. And if I understand my own thinking, then I can decide whether or not I need to make a change in my thought patterns or not. Sometimes the way I'm thinking is perfectly all right, and I don't have to change anything. Sometimes I need to make a change. Sometimes I need to make a shift in whatever I'm thinking, right? And I try to do that. I write it down, and then later on you read it, and you think, okay, I need to change that. Yes, sir.
I've done that before and immediately tore it up in
Yeah.
little pieces.
Well, and that's a deal too. See, that's one good thing you can do when we're writing down these negative things about ourselves. Whose business is that? That's just you. That's your business. Ain't nobody else's business. It's not something you put on the 6 o'clock news. This is not something that you hang up in the group room so everybody can see it. This is something you write down, get it for yourself, and then throw that thing away. So we can identify some of these things, and we can get some more helpful things. Here's some helpful and assertive thoughts to challenge those unhelpful thoughts that you may have. Remember, we can use the thought diary and behavioral experiment. We're going to look at that a little bit more later on to help you come up with more thoughtful stuff. Now, y'all think that wasn't important, but that was from Hitchcock, Texas. Man, I don't know nobody Hitchcock, Texas, but I can rest assured that's somebody trying to help me deal with my Social Security. That's who that is. I'll have to get back with him later. So, these are some things that help us come up with more helpful and assertive thoughts. So here's one. It is undesirable, listen, it is undesirable to be treated unfairly. You don't like to be treated unfairly, do you? I don't. I don't want to be treated unfairly. And we'll fight for the right not to be treated unfairly. I don't want to, look, if you're going to do it for one, you got to do it for everybody. We got to be fair about it. But listen, it is undesirable to be treated unfairly, but it's not awful. Y'all remember the word we turn awful into? Why are things awful?
They're just no good. Sad. They're just no good.
Because we tend to awfulize things. We awfulize things. Things that happen that are undesirable. They're not something we want to happen. I just had to give myself a shot. That's not good. You know, I got it. When I take insulin, the needle is about that long. It's not very long. It's like skin popping. It's no big deal. You know, and it usually you can't even feel it. It's tiny, 4 millimeters, tiny little thing. So you can usually not even feel that thing. But sometimes I guess I don't know why, but sometimes you hit a little tender spot or something, and goodness, it hurts. You know, I mean, it hurts. My goodness. And so I pulled it off of that one, put it somewhere else. You know, you have to give them to you in your stomach, right? And so you know, that it's undesirable. I would like to, and I'm working toward this. One of the reasons I'm in recovery from sugar, I want to get off all of the insulin. You can't fly with insulin, so I want to get all the insulin out of my life. And so that's undesirable, that little prick, but it's not awful. Not awful. I had the other day, my wife and I were about to go out and eat, and I had to give myself a little shot before we went out there and got all those carbohydrates, and she was, you know, to her, what was she doing? She was awfulizing it. To me, it's no big deal. But she was awfulizing it. So that's what happens to us a lot of the time. We awfulize things that really are not. Gotta go to groove. Gotta get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And gotta go good. And there ain't a whole lot of different stuff on the menu. This is what we're gonna eat today. You know, and I gotta do this, gotta do that. You know, some of those things are undesirable, right? But they're not awful. No, they're not awful. So the other thing, I can stand this hurt. You know, I can stand these hurt feelings and frustration, and I can do something about the situation. You know, sometimes when things happen to us, or when they happen around us, or they happen about us, all of those kinds of things, we kind of feel helpless and hopeless. I can't do anything about it. That's almost never true. Almost never. Now, there are some things can't do anything about. I'm older than most of you guys. I can't do anything about that. You know, I'm 5'8". I'm gonna probably be 5'8" for a long time. Ain't doing anything about it. You know, so that's who I am. So when I was younger, I wanted to be a little bit taller. You know, but now I understand this 5'8" is almost the perfect height. You know how I know that? And
This is the average height.
It is kind of average, but the average height of a Jewish guy in Israel is 5'7", and they're God's chosen people. And so if his chosen people are 5'7", that's the perfect height. And so I'm 5'8". I'm real close. You know, some of you guys, y'all just totally messed up. You know, I mean, y'all too tall. You know, who knows? I don't know what that's going to cause in your life. So, look, I can stand this just for a minute. Anybody ever been punched in the nose?
Yeah.
Boy, that don't feel good, does it? But you can stand it. You can stand it because it's not going to stay that way forever. I have a lady in my church. She came and showed me. She said, "Look what happened to me." And she turned around, and on her neck back here, Miss Debbie, on her neck back here, she got stung 3 times by red wasps. Yeah, that didn't help her out. You know, that was not good. That hurt like crazy. I'm working on our trailer now, and I stirred up 2 nests of red wasps. Did I get stung? No. I took my hat off and joined the battle. You know, we're going to town. We're fighting them things. But this lady's about a 68, 70-year-old lady. When those bees came, she took off running. They can fly faster than you can run. And they got her. Yeah, you know. But that was not pleasant at all. You ever been stung by a red wasp?
Yeah.
They hurt. They hurt almost about 10% as much as a yellow jacket. They hurt. You know, I've been stung by both of them. And I will tell you this, that it's not fun, but it's not forever. So you can deal with it. That pain will go away. You know? So the hurt and the frustration, I get frustrated because when things don't go the way I want them to go, when Miss Charnel says, no, I'm not going to help you with that anymore, then I get frustrated, right? But that will go away after a moment when I get frustrated about those things. And I can do something about the situation, whatever the situation is. Right? I know that. A lot of the times we feel helpless and hopeless. We don't feel like we can do anything, but we can. It says, look, I accept how the other person is. You know, that's a big deal. I can accept how the other person is. Does accepting how the other person is mean that you have to move in with them?
No.
No. Does accepting how the other person is mean that you can, you have to have them as your closest friend for the rest of your life? You can accept them from a distance, right? That's how Bubba is. That's how Bubba's always going to be. I'm not fooling with Bubba. You know, that's how he is. So I can accept how the other person is. They may have been rejecting one aspect of my behavior and not me as a whole person. Think about that. When I went and said, look, I would like to do this, and the person who was able to let me do that said no, then there was something there in my makeup that showed that person that that's not a good fit for me. Okay. I didn't want to receive that. I didn't want to hear that. But that's what it was. They weren't rejecting me as a person. They were rejecting the fact that I would not be able to do that, even if they said, yeah, go do it. You know. So with that in mind, we can say, all right, this person is not disrespecting me, not looking down on me, but realize that there's something in my life that ain't going to work well. It's best to openly express my feelings. The consequences may not be as bad as I think. That's a real good point. Most of the time, we don't do that. When I'm an assertive person, and I hope y'all know this about me, I'm going to tell you how I feel. If you hurt my feelings, I'll tell you. If I decide to get angry, then I'm going to tell you. I'll come tell you, look, we don't need to talk right now. What you just did, I allowed that to cause me to respond in anger. And I'm going to tell you some things, but I'm not going to tell you those things right now because I don't do that, not when I'm angry. Right? So we need to be able to do that. An assertive person is going to be able to tell any other person in their life, look, this is something that happened that you did that I'm not happy about. But we're going to do that in a way that's okay for me and okay for you. So they may not, and the consequences, look, sometimes we think if I go tell that person I don't like something they did, they're going to hate my guts. They're not going to talk to me ever again. I'm going to, they're not going to pay me back $20 an hour. And that may not be the case at all. And usually is not. Because remember, as an assertive person, I want it to be okay for me and okay for you as well. And when that happens, then things usually work out pretty good. So there's a whole lot of other assertive thoughts. This is just a little sprinkling of things. The main thing is for me to be able to look at my own thoughts and see whether they are aggressive, passive, or assertive. And if they're aggressive or passive, I need to figure out what I need to do to move them to assertive. And here's the way you know. Aggressive is all about me. Passive is all about you. Assertive is about the both of us. So, see if you can think of any other assertive thoughts that you can use. Like I said, there's a whole lot of them. So here's the deal. This is the summary. We are all disappointed sometimes in our life. There's going to be some disappointment in your life. We get disappointed just because somebody doesn't like us. Do we know, and I'm sure you do, everybody's brilliant in this group, do you know that not everybody's going to like us?
No.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but there's people who don't like me. I don't understand that. I'm nice, good, kind, and sweet. I have the Holy Spirit living in me, the fruit of the Spirit comes out: love, joy, peace, long suffering, kindness, goodness, self-control, all of those. So I don't know why people don't like me. Sometimes they don't like me just because I'm better looking than they are. I can't help that. But we do. We get to that place where we're going to have some disappointment in our life. Now, here's the deal. I am not going to go through my life every day of my life expecting to be disappointed. Disappointment's going to come, but I'm not going to expect it every day because I'm not going to be disappointed every day. I'm going to be at that place where whatever happens, it happens. Okay. It's okay. I'm going to be all right. Whatever happens, I'm going to work through it. It's going to be okay. May not be something I'm comfortable with, may not be something I like, but I'm gonna do it. As with other unassertive behavior, how we think about being criticized can lead us to respond in a passive or aggressive way. So we're going to reread that again. Listen to that, because a lot of us do that. As with other unassertive behavior, how we think about being criticized can lead us to respond in a passive or aggressive way. So when we look at the three ways that people respond, these are also the three ways that we use our communication skills. Two of those things are inappropriate. It is totally inappropriate for us to respond aggressively. Totally, we can't do that. It's also not okay to respond passively. You don't want to do that. Remember, aggressive is all about me. Passive is all about you. But assertive is about the two of us. And that's what we need to get to. So, we can change this thinking to more assertive thinking. So if we look at our thinking and we know that our thinking and our behavior is either aggressive or passive, then we can change it. Aggressive behavior, not good. People are not going to put up with that. Yeah, passive, that's not good. You should not be willing to put up with that. Assertive is good on every level. Questions, comments, or snide remarks? Are you really? No snide remarks? Are you sure? Oh, come on.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Anybody else? All right. So we're going to be shutting down about 3 minutes early. I want to thank you guys. Y'all did really well. We did have a couple of people late for group. We have a couple other people leave group. So those things need to be fixed. But other than that, we had a good group today. I appreciate you guys.